Okay. My friend, my name is Wago Howard. If you are joining this channel for the first time, thank you. If you are a member, that means you support this channel and music theory and myself in general, and I do appreciate that. Today, what are we going to be talking about? The pentatonic system. Now, I've got a few students that have been working on pentatonics in the past. I've learned how to teach these on multiple different instruments, and I want to impart a little bit of this knowledge to ya. If you are hanging out right now and you are a member of this channel and you want to ask questions, feel free. This live event should be charismatically viewed as something you could interact with. And if you find these later in life, put questions into the comment section and I will get you the answer. If I don't know the answer, I will ask my teacher and I'll get back to you. Other than that, please ask questions and have fun. Be respectful of anybody that's in the comment section. Other than that, thank you for being here today. And then if you could hit that like and subscribe button and share. I'm going to show you how to do this on the board. Look at it through the eyes of the fretboard. Today we're going to be talking about the ukulele, but we're going to be putting it in reference to the eyes of the piano, meaning we're going to turn on this piano and we're going to be able to play the tones and hear them as pitches. In the key of C, there are no sharps and flats, meaning when we play C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and C, we achieve something called a 7-note diatonic structure. So all of the concepts that I'm chit-chatting about right now are things that have been covered already in this members only session, but I want you to be able to see that every time we do music, it's kind of like an understanding of concepts you've already done. You take new concepts and you layer them together, and then eventually you have an aha moment or a chung moment or a coming to moment where you're like, ah! You might get goosebumps, and the hair on the back of your neck stands up, and you're like, I get it now. The two things that did not make sense now make sense because I've done like a third thing, or those two make sense because you do repetitions of patterns. When we talk about a diatonic scale, we are talking about 7 notes. Of those 7 notes, we've got the tonic or the prime, the 1. We've got the major second, which is the 2. The distance between the two, C and D, involves another step. If you listen to it, we have C and then D. This is a major second. When we flatten the D and get a D flat, we get a diatone. Now that dissonance is probably the most terrifying of all the different diatones because it has such a dissonance that we go, yuck. Now, that dissonance sometimes when layered with other chords, like C major, that dissonance now sounds beautiful because it's equally tempered between these notes. The whole idea between this is if we can get an understanding of what our intervals are, it is much easier to talk about music theory, such as the pentatonic system. When we're playing a major chord, the 1 chord and the 6th chord share a key. In the key of C major, the key of A minor has all the same notes. When we go through something called the circle of fifths, we are going up in pitch 5 notes, C, D, E, F, G. This G now has a sharp. That sharp is F sharp. It's on the top line of the treble clef. Not going to go into what the treble clef is or what sharps or flats or accidentals are. That is from another video. If that doesn't make sense, I would suggest going back before watching this video. Every time we go through these, we're going to be adding a sharp. D major has 2 sharps. It has F sharp and then C sharp. When we go to A, F sharp, C sharp, and G sharp. So when we find ourselves playing a major key, like the key of A major has how many sharps? It has 3. A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, and G sharp. A major has the sharp from the key of G, which is F sharp. It has the sharp from the key of D, which is F sharp and C sharp. And then it adds the sharp for A, because the note right before A in the major 7th, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, the place where you always add on your new sharp, it's going to be our last one, G. Here's where it gets interesting. How do you make any major diatonic scale a minor? Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do turns into do, re, ma, fa, sol, la, la, ti, do. I can't remember what the notes are we're going to say in the solfege. We have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. 1, 2, flat, 3, 4, 5, flat, 6, flat, 7, 1. So in the key of C major, if we wanted to turn C major into a C minor, we would flatten the 3, flatten the 6, flatten the 7th. Why does C major share the key, C minor share the key with E flat? Because they have 3 flats. If we wanted to see this through the eyes of C major or A minor, we would look at A major. How do you make a major or minor? You flatten the 3rd, you flatten the 6th, and then you also diminish or flatten the 7th. Why does A minor share the same key as C major? It's because now we're not viewing C major through the major 1, we're viewing it through the minor 1. Our 2 would be a diminished 2. It's probably not good at it. Beep. As the diminished sign would say. When we go to the D here, we find, it looks like the Disney D. How cute. When we go to the 4 here, the 4 is now a minor. VI. V is 5. I'm sorry. My brain's not working today. VI is 6. And then that's a major. And then VII is 7. This gives us our minor key. More importantly, natural minor. So when we're looking at a minor pentatonic, we could either view it through the eyes of the major, which again would have been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And then we would have C, D, E, G, and A. As in a minor pentatonic, you do not use the subdominant, and you do not use the lending or leading tone. You use the tonic or foundation. You use the major second, which is called the subtonic. You use the median, the thing that determines major or minor. And then you skip the perfect 4th and go to the perfect 5th to get the dominant. And then you have our lending or leading tone is taken away. And the tension between the dominant here and then the submedian causes a lot of push and pull between these 5 notes. So the idea is when we play a minor, it's no longer our 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, but the notes we use are the exact same for A minor and C major. We just view them through a different idea of temperance. In a minor, we relieve ourselves of having the 2, and we relieve ourselves of having what? Over here, what aren't the ones we have? We have C, D, E, there's no F. So we don't have a 6 here as well. Notice how all of the notes from the minor pentatonic and all the notes from the major pentatonic are exactly the same. We are just using them in a different place or a different positioning depending on what we're trying to achieve. So here's the real rub, folks. What is practical application for pentatonics? And then how do we use them? When we're viewing them through the eyes of, let's say, the stave, I'm great at straight lines, folks. Just joking. I'm not good at them at all. However, I do have this magical hat eraser, and it makes everything worthwhile. When we put beams down here, maybe just separate these into equal temperament. We're working through the key of A minor or C major, so there are no sharps and no flats. There really doesn't need to be a time signature. You could just keep it as common time, but if I write 4/4, this looks a little bit better. It's the beginning of our measure, so we're going to put a double bar, and here's the end of our measure, so we're going to put a double beam. Since we're in 4/4, we need 4 beats per measure, and since when we play a scale or a chord, it's supposed to be a tetrachord. It's composed of 4 notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 4 on both sides, tetrachord, tetrachord. Here we're doing our pentatonics. In the key of C, we would have C, D, E, G, and A. Well, those are the same for the minor, so I'm not going to double write these. It's how we utilize those. If we were to go over here and just throw out our middle C, and we have this note, C, D, E, we could have our G, right? C, D, E, and G. Ha, 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 ha. At this point, we have our C pentatonic going up. If we wanted to practice seeing that our C pentatonic could go up, and we could hit our top note as our apex note, maybe we could do the C up here. We have 2 more beats here. If we were to go down and throw another A here, and another G, 4 notes per measure, and then let's go backwards like we're doing a musical palindrome. So we're going to throw out our E, we're going to hit our D, and then we're going to throw our C here. Just because Why not? We're going to take this, throw it here, and then we're going to put a rest, and then we're going to put a rest here. The reason being, I don't want to do anything and squish it in one more measure. This is how I'd fill out my 4 measures. When we're doing this, let's look at these notes and what they sound like. We've got our middle C on the treble clef. C, D, E, G, A, C, A, G, E, D, C. When practicing this, if we were to throw a triad underneath it, like a C major, what I just did was I took the C, D, E, G, A, C, A, G, E, D, and C. And then the secondary time that I went through it, I did the exact same thing, but I altered the note to not play the C as my primary note when I played the function. I played it with the secondary note. So it would have aligned itself as being a D and then an E, and then it would go up to our G, right? And then it hits our A, goes all the way up to the C, back to the A, hits the G. And what happens here after the D, C is no longer our primary apex note. Our D note would have been, and then it goes back to the C, hits the A, the G, the E, and the D. No longer containing that C. So our example 2 is exactly like our example 1, but this is the practice of practicing the practice. When we do it with notes, we would hear... That's a diatonic scale. Now our pentatonic scale. 5 notes with the apex of C. If we play C, D, E, G, A, C, D, E, G, A, C, D, we can even go to E. E, G, A, C, D, E. When practicing the practice of practicing, maybe this would be a scale pattern. Palindromes. Each way that we're doing this, we're utilizing the notes of C, D, E, A, and G. Now, whenever you play any chords inside the key of C major, like C major, D minor, E minor, F, A minor, G, B diminished even, works. Why? Even though we're not kind of wanting to play the F or the B, the 4 or the 7 in a major, or if we look at it through the eyes of the minor, we don't really want to play the diminished 2, the B, and we don't want to play that 6, the F. These notes and the pattern scales that you work on with whatever instrument you're working on will be the things that you will pull out while soloing, naturally. When I play it on a guitar or do some sort of functionality of playing that, let me turn this over here and grab my guitar and show a little bit of that. When we play the guitar and try to exercise the idea, why is that not working? Oh, there it is. When we try to exercise the idea of the pentatonics, a lot of us want to go big. The whole idea is to start simple and small, maybe with a couple notes. I'm just going to show it through the eyes of what it would look like here playing. Oh, jeez. What it would look like playing through a pentatonic system. Ready? This one generally is what guitar teachers teach from. It's C pentatonic. Or we could play it through A minor pentatonic. When we play it through C pentatonic, yes, here is our C note. C goes to D. It's a major second. When we go up to play our E and then jump to the G, it's a minor third. So major second, minor third, minor third. When we see that we've got this note that's C, D, E, G, A, G. Our G right here is going to want to go up to another note, right? Or our C right here, right? So C goes to D. And then D is going to go to E. E is going to want to skip F and go to G. And then up to A. So the feeling of these notes should feel pretty good. On guitar, we kind of equally temper our fingers to do patterns. And once you realize that each scale, each pentatonic could have a form of doing something like E. Why is this thing adjusting to something weird? Like, I really despise technology. Does anybody else feel that way? Yuck. All right. Like, why is it readjusting right there? What is wrong with technology? What's wrong with me? Anyway, these finger patterns are the process of knowing. My practice, I teach spider exercises, which mean we get really familiar with minor seconds. We can go forward and backwards. Our plucking hand can do downstrokes, upstrokes, 8th notes, 16th notes. What we're really looking for is to get the note to come out. When we play our pentatonic systems are derivatives of those notes. E, G, A, B. When I play that, that's not in the C major pentatonic. So we would switch to the C. Our open note is here. So you can use it as either at the 5th fret or you could use it as an open. Just depends on what you want to do as far as your pentatonics go. The idea of moving this up a major second and then starting that same idea of utilizing all your fingers on all of the frets. Man, I'm really going to have to figure out how to get rid of that zooming camera. Weird. I get music. Technology is hard. When trying to do this one, we're going to be doing our A to C, our D to our E, our G to our A. Notice how all of these notes are all the same notes, but now we're doing them with a different pattern. Where it was doing a major second, minor third, major second, we are now doing a minor third, major second, major second, minor third. So, on the guitar, it has some benefits. Just like the guitar is nothing more than an ukulele with just 2 bass strings and then it's tuned down. When you play at the 5th fret and put a capo on the ukulele, at the 5th fret of the guitar, it becomes the ukulele chords. So whenever you're playing this on the uk, it's a G. If you were to play this monstrosità on the guitar with a capo at the 5th fret, you'd be playing at the 7th fret. That would give you the same chord and the same intonation. You just then would have 2 bass notes to play around. So I always urge all of my ukulele students to try different stuff. I have a baritone uke here that I generally lend out if they want to feel it out before they get one. Other than that, baritone's lots of fun to play. It, again, is the top half. The reason why I'm doing ukulele today is I've got a couple students that are currently working on the pentatonic systems, and one of the things that I try to show to my students is when we play in C major, all the chords in C major, like C major, D minor, E minor, F major, G major. We could play our A minor, B diminished, and then go back to our C. All of these notes of C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and C can be accomplished by simply taking our fingers and moving a pattern around. Let's see if we could capture this in large form. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and C. C is for C major. The D note is for D minor. The E note is for E minor. The F is for F major. The G is for horrible camera work. The A is for A minor. And then the B is for B diminished or G7. And then it goes right back to our C. So playing the pentatonic of the open C note, putting our second finger on the 2nd fret of the C note to achieve the D natural, the D note, playing either an open E above it on the string, or going up a whole step or a major second gives us our perfect prime of our E's. We're not going to play an F. We're going to go to the G. So you can either play the G that's closest to your face, or you can play its perfect prime at the 3rd fret on the E string. Our A is going to be open string, or you could play the 5th on the E string. Great way to tune your instrument as well. And then lastly, we would go up top to hit the C. Notice how I'm using open second finger, open third finger, open third finger. They correlate with the spider exercises that I teach as part of the practice. When we take this C major pentatonic and we express ourselves playing a major second from the C to the D, playing a minor third from the E to the G, and then playing a minor third from the A to the C, what we achieve by doing this gives us our pattern. This holds true for all major notes. When we play minor pentatonics, I'm going to show that through the eyes of D minor. Now, D minor, if we put our first finger on the second note we just played, C, D, and rather than thinking about now with having open notes, everything we're going to be doing is going from the second fret, third fret, fourth fret, and fifth fret. I gotta say, this camera work is driving me crazy. All I'm doing is watching this thing going up and down for no reason. I just don't understand it. And I'm having one of those days where it really is driving me so super crazy, I had to move it. Oh, that's much better. Ta-da! Okay, so if we're playing C, D, E, G, A, and C, if we start that process and we see that all the notes of our next pentatonic will be within our minor third or major second. When we play a D, it's going to go up a minor third to the F. D, D sharp, E, E sharp. When we play this E sharp or F note, we have a minor third stretch. The next note is a G. The G is going to go up a major second to the A. You can either play it at the fifth or you can play it open. And then we're going to go right above the G to a C note. And then the C is going to go up to a D. D, F, G, A, C, D. The minor pentatonic pattern will be minor third, major second, major second. When we combine the two patterns, it should function like this. When we know that we're playing a C major, then a D minor, that's not a D minor, you silly Billy, D minor, and then, oh, that is a great movement though. That was a B dominant 7, kinda, to a D minor. Anywho, not gonna write right now. We've got our C, D, E, G, A, C, D, F, G, A, C, D. If we know that we've got a C major to a D minor, and then we move that D minor to an E minor, it is safe to assume that if we move this up a major second and do the same minor pattern, meaning minor third, putting a finger down, and then doggies, 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 keep them doggies rolling, and then go right above, same pattern you did here, and play your A at the fifth, go a major second away to get the B, go above the A to get the D, and then go a major second to get the E. We are giving ourselves the same pattern that we just achieved by doing, but now it's doing E. E, E sharp, F sharp, G, E, G, A, B, E, G, A, B. We're going to go above that and play our D, E. So our D minor pentatonic and our E minor pentatonic are the same. Well, the next note, C, D, E, F. Now we have a major pentatonic. Remember, it's no longer a minor third, but a major second. When we go above it, we're then going to go a minor third away. Above that, minor third away. So our patterns these are the practice of the practicing techniques. If one wants to, you can devise your own practice by doing something like Whenever notes are applied that are not part of the scale, frankly, in the beginning, they're just happy accidents. I always tell my students that the notes that you choose that are part of your pentatonic series are like boats on the water, going from one continent or concept to another. We might be wanting to do some sort of function like C major to a C augmented to an A minor. And a great little melodic movement is to do half steps that are not in the pentatonic, like our C sharp or our D flat, and move a half step slide into that D. So if we're doing something like we can influence the F sharp into G just for a moment to fool the ear and then move into that dominant note. If we're trying to play something that's in a chord structure, we could do some half-step slides or hammer-ons and utilize them as part of our pentatonic. You could also do full slides, which sound wonderful everywhere. It just depends on if they're in that pentatonic system. Now, the happy accidents that you have are from accidentally playing a note or, gee golly whiz, planning that note to actually happen. When we do this, the whole purpose of doing it is to have fun and to do things at like a snail's pace and then speed them up. So every ting that I'm talking about right now, you kind of want to do it at like 50 to 60 to 80. I mean, 80 would be about this. So if you're doing it at 120, some of the concepts get lost. Let's draw this out on the board and show you what it looks like on the ukulele so that the latter part of this video can hone in on the fretboard for the ukulele. If I can find my pen. And I do hope you're enjoying this. If you are, please share. Thanks for supporting the channel. Very cool. When we're trying to do this on the fretboard, I'm going to just probably draw two. Here's 1, 2, 3. Oh, these are the straightest lines I've ever drawn. Ever. I'm going to throw my nut up there. I'm going to put just a little thicker nut so I know this is the beginning. I can draw my G here because we know where we're moving. Here's our big C, here's our E, and here's our A. Now, these are the names of the strings. If you don't play uk, this should be fun and informative. If you do play ukulele, this is just one more way to understand your fretboard, look at extended chords, and to see how the pentatonics fit together. Today we are examining the key of C major and showing what it would look like to do pattern recognition over the top of all the different ones that happen. This is, I guess, equal proportions. I don't know if we're going to go all the way up to 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 10, 11, 12. No. You know what? I think I might take an art class this year. Or at least have somebody tell me how to practice art so I become better at it. Anyway, here's our fretboard. We got our 1st fret, our 2nd fret, 3rd fret, 4th fret. Guess what? 5th fret, 6th fret, 7th fret, 8th fret, 9th fret, 10th fret, 11th fret, and then right here, it repeats at the 12th fret. So we could actually even put our A up here, our E up here, our C up here, and then our G. I'm going to go ahead and write these all out diatonically so we can see, and then I'm going to put some markers and some stuff over the top of it. G goes to G sharp or A flat, and then it goes to A sharp or B flat, and then it goes to B. B goes to B sharp or C. I'm just going to draw them as their natural notes. It's much easier. C goes to C sharp. When we have C sharp, it's also a D flat. Therefore, this is D. If you see it, we're just doing our scale. E, F, F sharp. But we're looking for C major, not G. Anyway, E to F, same difference. So we've got a D sharp or an E flat right here. We've got our F sharp here and a G flat, and then it goes back to the stable note. Here's what we're actually really looking for. Same thing that would start here. So we've got C sharp, D flat, D, E, F, G, A, B, and C. Then each one of these can be filled in for what they're, this is considered the chromatic scale. When you do this and you show the smaller ones, D sharp, E flat, and harmonically the same thing. F sharp, G flat, just like we said over here. G sharp, A flat. When we do A sharp or B flat, and then B to C, half step. E goes to F directly. Then we have an F sharp or a G flat. Here's our G, G sharp or A flat, A sharp or B flat, no, it's B, B to C, C sharp, D flat, D, D sharp or E flat, and then E as the resolution. When we do A, it's A sharp or B flat. You don't know this because that's our C7 note, right? You play all these open, knock it out. When we do this one, here's our B, half step to the C or semitone, C sharp, D flat to a D, D sharp or an E flat to an E. E goes to E sharp, which we also call F natural. Our F sharp, G flat goes to our G, and then G sharp or A flat goes to our A. When we do this, this is how to lay out your entire fretboard. If you've played the ukulele for more than 1 year or 1 week, and you've never done this, please try. It really opens up your eyes and you see similarities, like B to C. If you can start seeing where your B to C is, your half step for all these, or your E to F, that makes a lot of these half steps, which feel weird in chords, kind of recognizable. When we play this, we're going to have ourselves a good old-fashioned 1, a 3, and a 5. This one I use for the 7th. We're not talking about that right now. Our prime is going to be our 1, 3, and then 5. When we're doing this, I'm going to lay out the concept of where the 1, 3, 5 are, but we're going to see it through the eyes of the pentatonic. Here, we're talking about C major or A minor, C, D, E, G, A, or A, B, C, D, E, F, G. They're the same notes. One is viewed through the major pentatonic, one is viewed through the minor pentatonic. And yes, I know how to spell pentatonic. It's a hard word. But, you can spell with an X too. I've seen some people do that. Pentatonics. Crazy. Anyway, 1, 3, 5. Well, here we go. If we have our 1, we're going to play our C. Our 3 chord is going to be the E minor. And then when we have our 5 chord, it's the G. The notes that we utilize for this are going to be spread apart, and you're going to see them moving from C, D, E, G, A, and C. So the whole point of doing this is to kind of see where our movements are and move them around. Here's our C, here's our D, here's our E, here's our G, here's our A, here's our E, here's our C. You can either choose to use this E and choose to use this A, or you can choose to not and use them here. The feeling would be open 2, open 3, open 3, major second, minor third, minor third. That's what we just did on the ukulele. That's what I consider being in first position. The next one would kind of start here, halving that position, and then it would do D, E. We wouldn't have F because it's not part of this, right? You'd have a major second right here. You would then move to your G to A and your C and your D, exhibiting D's, C, G, A, and E. This is what I would consider my D minor pentatonic. When we play, let me see my note. When we play D, E, G, A, C, D, you can see how going from E to G now is your not minor second, not major second, but a minor third. Then we go to our A. It should feel good on our fingers to do minor third and then put that down to do a major second. Super groovy. A, E, G, A, C, D, F sharp. Do you see how these patterns are laying themselves out in front of you? I do hope so. The next note that we would go to that's part of our C major, C, D, E, C, D, E, G, A, and then B. Don't forget your diminished whenever writing your major diatonic. When going through here, our next note would be F. So if we were going to do an F major pentatonic, we would have F, G, A, C, D, F. Now, very interesting. There is really no F in our C pentatonic. So moving up, what we find is in a major scale, our F pentatonic can be utilized as a C pentatonic, but there is a note that's inside of our C pentatonic and not inside of our F, same vice versa. There's a C in the C, there is definitely a D in the D, there is not an E in here now, but there is an F, and there's a G and there's an A. So we've flippity-flopped out that note to have another one. There is no E, we have an F. That is the crucial change. So that half step becomes a real fun pivot point to do like E, F, da, ha, 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 ha. And you get this kind of like feeling of the major seventh on top of it, which leads to another thing. You don't have to just have the 5 notes. You could charismatically put another note in the pentatonic and use it around there as a little bit of flavor. That becomes a modal thing where you start seeing other notes and their interaction with the balance of the 7 notes inside the diatonic. The next thing we're going to do is doing the G. Because we're doing a major, major second, minor third, major third. Well, this one's the same. Major second, minor third, minor third. Well, from the G, major second, and then right above, yeah, G, A, and then we go up to the B, B, D, E, G. Being able to go through here and go 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 1, 1, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7, 1. When we go to our E, same thing. 1, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7, 1. And then major. 1, we're going to go to the 2, 3, 5, 6, 1. This pattern moves entirely through the entire fretboard. When we get up to the A, we would of course have A to C, which is our minor third. Then we'd have D to E, major second, and G to A. That pretty much concludes all of our pentatonic, unless you would like to go past the 12th fret. Since I only drew up to the to the 12th fret, I'm not going to go past there. Maybe the onus is on you to try to check that out, see if you can come up with heads or tails on this. This is how I would circumnavigate playing in the key of C. If somebody was like, hey, Wago, why don't we play a chord progression? Let's make it a weird chord progression to see how it... we don't have to. Yeah, how about we do like a 1 chord? One chord, 6 chord, 5 dominant, 1. This is going to be C major, A minor, G7, or B diminished, and then back to our C. It's going to sound like this. Over the top of this, we could use that pentatonic system, right? Here's my D minor pentatonic. Started with the D, gave it a little whole step jump. And the best part about I think about pentatonics, as I said, being little avenues between concepts. The concept is the progression. Yada 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 diddly diddly doo. Whatever your motif is or your melody line, we can incorporate something interesting. Let's say today we wanted to work on descending pentatonics. Let's pick E minor, D minor, and then end on a ascending C major. 3 notes on that C major ascending and maybe 4 downward notes on the descendings. And if I've already lost you, let's just watch what it looks like. The chord progression is C, da, A minor, 5 dominant G7, back to the 1. And over the top, we can utilize our E minor, 4 note descending, D minor, and then 3 note ascending. That's how I would verbally describe something to somebody I'm playing with and say, here's a concept. Let's play a beat in 4/4. Chord progression is C major, A minor, G dominant, and the motif let's play around with is going to be a descending motif in E pentatonic, D pentatonic to C major, consisting of 4 notes of both the minor, descending, and then 3 notes ascending. You can utilize these concepts and then pull them apart. If you're like, I didn't like that. I didn't really like this note. So how about like, when playing with the note patterns and playing with the intervals, as long as you stay within those 5 notes, every note that you choose will fit within the key signature. So even if the progression wasn't C, A, and G7, if it was like C, F, D minor to A minor, back to G7, and back to C, to F, D minor to A minor, G7 songs back to C. You could utilize any of these notes out of the D minor, E minor, F major, G major. It's really just playing them with the ability to kind of see the slower you go and plan out your concepts, if you were to play something outside the pocket of the key or accidentally hit a note, the concept I was trying to get across to you is when you're playing in a key, there really are no wrong notes. Miles Davis kind of coined it the best, I think. You're only really a half step off from the note you desire. You could either augment it and go up or diminish it by a half step and find something firm to plant your feet on and then go from there. So when playing, if you play accidentally an A and you got that C sharp in there and you're like, gee golly whiz, there's no C sharp in C major. You can utilize that as a lead-in note to a note that is in your pentatonic. C sharp, D, F, G, A, C, D. That influences your pentatonic with another note that's pulled from a mode, but it absolutely is something that helps you understand your fretboard. So as a practice of practicing a technique, and this is what I really try to have all people that watch this and all students of mine try to understand, if you set your expectations way above where you could see them, you're only going to achieve things that you think you need to do. If you can set your expectations where you can clearly see them that are just above your level, but clearly graspable, like this, you absolutely can move notes and patterns. What a lot of people get stuck with is thinking that they have to be linear, ascending, or descending. Maybe you can include this with some sort of weird pull-off hammer-on. Try to do things slowly and then build them up fast. If you can go slowly and then move to a faster pace while doing it kind of like a accelerando, you can find yourself doing some pretty cool things musically. So on a final note, draw out your fretboard. Spend 5 minutes each day doing this, and you will be amazed at the 7th day that you now know where G flat is. The whole idea behind this, with these 7 notes, if we view them diatonically, we can find our pentatonic easily. Since we stayed in the key of C, the last thing I want to do is show you how to find it in any key. I'm going to leave the fretboard up here, hopefully not knock over the ukulele. And let's see here. I don't have any other colors, and if I did, I wouldn't use them anyways. Let's change this key to the key of I don't know. How about like B? B major has 5 sharps. B, C sharp, D sharp, E, F sharp, G sharp, and then A. When we do this, we know that our major chord has what? Our 1, 2, 3, no 4, 5, and then 6, no 7. So let's get rid of our 4, perfect fourth, wee, 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 and let's get rid of our major 7th, wee, wee, wee. The notes we have are B, C sharp, D sharp, F sharp, and G. Jab. So here we can go, actually, I do need to erase this. My bad. Ooh. Maybe this could be one where I kind of draw it out and not take everybody's time to do the end result here. I just do the first one, and then you go back and try it on your own and see if you could find the key of B's pentatonic. Wee wee. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Then it goes back to 12. All right. Here's our G. Here's our C. Here's our E. Here's our A. When we go G, we have our G sharp right here. G sharp goes to A. A sharp goes to B flat, or A sharp is B flat, and then here is our B. So we've got our B natural, and then we've got our C. Well, here's our C sharp, D, D sharp, E, E sharp, F sharp. And then we have our resolution note, which is our G, but we're not looking for that. Our 13th fret will be the G sharp. I'm going to leave it off. When we do C, that's not what we're looking for. We're looking for C sharp. C sharp goes to D. D sharp is what we're looking for. D sharp goes to E. No bueno. E sharp is an F. Then we have an F sharp. We skip our G, go to G sharp. A sharp, nah. A sharp, B flat, B. We're looking at doing our notes right here. The 12th fret is going to be our C, so we're not even going to worry about that one right here. We might go back and plop that one in. F sharp, G sharp, A, B, G sharp, A sharp or B flat, B, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, and then we've got our E sharp and then F sharp. Not even going to worry about that because it's past the 12th. And then A goes to A sharp. We're not worrying about that. You know, we could right here, but we're not because it's the 7th. When we go to here, we've got our B flat, A sharp. Here's our B nat. C natural, we want our C sharp. Here's our D, D sharp. E, E sharp, F sharp. G, G sharp. Yeah, there's one. All right, that laid out all of our notes for the pentatonic. Now, you can visualize having all the rest of those notes in there, but the concept that we're looking at is still remaining the same. When we're playing something along these lines, we could see ourselves doing it in the fashion where we have a 3rd, 2nd. Ooh, here's different notation. So when we're playing our pentatonic, it gives us a different shape and feel for B. We can do these notes on the bottom as a minor 3rd, but the intonation makes it weird. Mostly, we try to use pentatonics on the 3 tones that are above, and then put in this note as a, it just depends on the type of music you're playing, but kind of like a accent to it when you're doing a polyphonic and polytonal music, trying to moving through like doing. When moving 2 different notes, you use your thumb on these 2 strings and then all 3 fingers up top. Here, G sharp to B, C sharp to D sharp, F sharp to G sharp, and then B to C sharp. See how these notes themselves work themselves out? And this right here kind of feels exactly like what we were doing earlier. When we play it B right here, we're going to have our B move to our C sharp, B, C sharp, D sharp. We're going to have an F sharp, or G sharp, and then a B. So we're feeling these different patterns out. I don't like having the high G. If you're playing with an ukulele that has a low G on there, it's rather fun because the tone feels good rather than jumping up to a higher note. However, the patterns that we're looking at are always going to be these minor 3rds. Minor 3rd, minor 3rd, major 2nd, minor 3rd, minor 3rd, major 2nd. Again, when we do our C sharp to our D sharp, F sharp to a G sharp, B, C sharp, and then was a Yes song from the 80s off Bid Generator, I think. Anyway, this is a great way to understand your fretboard. Pick a random key, find out where these notes are, and I guarantee if you're playing in the key of B major and you're like, you will be able to find a lot of pleasure with playing with the B note, the C sharp, the D sharp. Keep it simple in the beginning. Make your own patterns by putting notes in different places. Try to use some slides in between these notes, or hammer-ons, or pull-offs, and you will find yourselves plucking away, now making melodies every day. I hope you enjoyed this today. The pentatonic system is vast. This is just a brief intro to it. If you would like, put comments in the comment section. Ask questions about how this is done on your own instrument. Today we covered on how to do a progression, what the spelling of a major pentatonic is, and what the spelling of a minor pentatonic is. We did it in the key of C major, did it in the key of A minor, and by doing this we realized that the 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6 is the major spelling, and then the 1, flat 3, 4, 5, and flat 7 is the minor spelling of a pentatonic. It does not matter where you play these. All these are independent of themselves, meaning if you are playing in the key of F and you're doing, let's say, like Teen Spirit Nirvana, and it goes from F major to B flat, and it does A flat to D flat. Ba-ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-ba-dum, ba-gum-bum. Whoa, you are exhibiting some minor thirds already, because that's what the progression moves up in. Very awkward. That's a great progression, but it's a great way to explain how chord progressions don't have to be what we hear in the circle fifths or naturally gravitate toward. Teen Spirit is a song which breaks all the rules, if you will. So, going through there, I would say write out your example of your fretboard. Do it on whatever stringed instrument you're doing. If you're not on a stringed instrument and you're on the piano, I would absolutely suggest going through and, like, if it doesn't really matter what level you're at. If you're an advanced player and you don't know what pentatonics are, I would suggest going back and learning what a diatonic or chromatic scale is. It helps us to move through notes, right? And then utilize them. When we're doing patterns, you can be able to do half steps, just like we did on the fretboard. Slide ins. Hammer-ons, pull-offs, they're all the kind of same. They just have a different feeling on the piano. For here, I would say let's stay with the key of C. Maybe put down like a C major. You can do it in an inversion if you want. And then C, D, E, A, G. This is a 1, 2, 3, 6, 5. This is a dyad played off of it to a fourth. To a fourth, because I'm still keeping charismatic with the primaries of the pentatonic. And then to the A minor, we would have. Keeping some sort of melody on one hand and then playing around with the nose. Doing patterns. What you'll find is when you play around with these specific 5 notes from the pentatonic, you will gravitate towards playing the same melodies over and over again. Your brain somehow will say, try something new. And when you do, you come up with creative, fun ways to move around something you've been doing your whole life. But you then see the purpose and the practice of practicing. So if you're practicing of the practice of practicing is simply you're just moving within a pattern in your pentatonic. I hope you enjoyed today. I sure as heck did. If you have any questions, please put them in the comment section. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel or shared, would you? And